Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on news up at Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice.
This evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, as we have been following how things have been playing out with the Operation Recover All Load Preparatory Team. Today, President Mahama has received the oral preparatory team's report and directs the Attorney General to commence investigations and prosecution of persons found to have looted state lands and property.
Meanwhile, the oral team says it has identified over $21 billion in potential recoveries from 36 high-profile corruption cases.
Also, 7-member ad hoc committee probing the appointments committee chaos has brought its work to an end without the input of the minority in parliament.
And much later on the program, dozens of people injured after gunmen ambushed the commercial bars in Binduri near Boko in Upper East region.
We have this plus the latest in business and sport over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Safwa Boahin is here with a summary of the news. Safwa.
Thank you, Alfred, and welcome to the news summary segment. Let's settle for the details now. President John Mahama has ordered the Attorney General to investigate and recover state lands and properties allegedly sold cheaply to officials and their associates. The directive follows a report from the Operation Recover All Loot Committee presented at the Jubilee House. Also, Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa has inaugurated committees to oversee a 24-hour passport system and the welfare of Ghanaians abroad. He urged Ministry of Staff to support the President's agenda while assuring them of government's commitment to their welfare. Also, pressure is mounting on the Speaker of Parliament to investigate an alleged insult directed at Koleklote MP Dr. Zanato Rollins. While Damango MP Abujinapo denies involvement, people and public outreach continues. Former Minister Nilaye Afote-Agbo has joined calls for a probe and urged Minority Leader Penyumakin to apologize. Away from that, NDC's James Kofi Annan and independent candidate Louisa Boabin had petitioned the Winnipeg High Court to annul the 2024 Futu parliamentary results over alleged irregularities. Annan challenges results from 96 polling stations, while Boabin seeks a total annulment, citing Electoral Commission bias. And to allow story now, gunmen attacked a commercial bus near Bazwa in the Upper East region, injuring several passengers. The bus traveling from Boko to Bogatanga under military escort came under fire on the highway. Victims have been taken to health centers as security is tightened in the area. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Alfred and Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Safwa.
Safwa, appreciate you as always. There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Let's get into our first story now. And President John Dramani Mahama has directed the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, to commence immediate investigation into reported loot of state assets for prosecution and retrieval of such loot. The president gave the order when the oral team presented its report to him at the Jubilee House earlier today. The report lists, among others, state lands and bungalows allegedly sold cheaply to government officials and politically exposed persons, their cronies and other persons as well. It also details contracts that constitute financial loss. Here's chair of the committee and Foreign Affairs Minister of the Republic of Ghana, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, giving details of the report when he earlier, together with the team, presented it to President John Dramani Mahama at the Flagstaff House earlier today.
The number of complaints received amounts to 2,417. So those who had any doubt about how relevant and how timely the president's intervention was at the time, this is your evidence. 2,417 complaints received. Where will all of these people have gone if President Mahama had not set up the oral preparatory team? So President Mahama has been vindicated. It was a masterstroke. It was the right decision for our country, and it has deepened transparency and accountable governance. Over the last 53 days, we have reviewed these petitions 44 were received directly from civil society organizations and other public-spirited citizens. 59 of the 230 cases reviewed containing the documents we'll be submitting today were cases that had come up during the period the NDC was in opposition. But we decided to go back to those matters and carry out a detailed review. And all of those are contained. So today we will be presenting a summary of these reports, 230 of them, which have been analyzed in greater detail.
Oh, that's someone Okuja to Blackwood there saying that the oral preparatory team's investigation into some 36 high-profile cases identified $21.9 billion in potential recoveries from looted state assets and undervalued land sales. And this is one that generated some reaction as well, especially for those of you who have been reacting to that post we put earlier on social media. But this is exactly what Samuel Okuja to Blackwood said in that particular instance.
The 36 cases that we have reviewed in detail, if we are successful in recoveries, we can retrieve as much as 20.49 billion United States dollars. 20.49 billion United States dollars. 36 cases, and that's from National Cathedral, PDS, SML. You have the GMPC salt pond decommissioning, and we decided that in this open session we will not go into greater detail, and so I want to be restrained. But there's a great deal of resources belonging to the taxpayers that can be retrieved. Then we've also done an estimate of the state capture, the lands. If we successfully ask people to pay conservative market value for the lands they have looted, again, the experts are telling us that we can recover about 702.8 million United States dollars for the Ghanaian people. That's if we just ask people, those who were paying 42,000 cedis, 120,000 cedis, 160,000 cedis, to pay the fair market value. Those are lands that $500,000, $600,000, you will even struggle to get cantonments land at that figure. So very conservative estimates. We take the view that if people are asked to pay the real market value, this is how much we can retrieve. So in all, just a summary, the 36 cases, the high amount cases that we put together, and then the land loot, potentially we can raise about 21.19 billion United States dollars.
Well, so that's Samuel Okuja to Blackwood there, the Foreign Affairs Minister and chair of this Operation Recover All Loot preparatory team, together with the members who presented the report to President John Dramani Mahama earlier today at the Flagstaff House. Now, before we hear from President John Mahama on his response to the oral preparatory team's work, let's engage one of the members of the 5-member committee, the preparatory committee of oral. He's a private legal practitioner. Martin Pebble is joining us on the telephone. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Ocansey. Good.
Well, congratulations to you, and the team will be in order, is it not?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. We did our bit for God and country. We just pray that the foundation that we've laid will be sufficient, is strong enough so that the investigations that will be building upon it and the prosecutions will succeed, so that, as Honorable Okudjeto stated, we'll be able to recover a substantial sum of the money involved. Yes.
You received 2,417 suspected corrupt complaints. 2,417, and we understand that out of that, 1,493 came through some emails and phone calls as well, and which were automatically recorded. But then again, the success of your work is predicated directly on the Attorney General being able to prove beyond reasonable doubt the claims that you received, is it not?
Yes, absolutely. So we are looking at how the Attorney General will be able to get to work. He says he will even be setting up an investigation department under his ministry so that it will help to move the investigations forward. And then we'll see. Because, Charlie, it's Ocansey. It's a lot. This nation has bled. This nation has bled. It's no joke at all. You see some of the figures involved, etc. It's no joke. It's just no joke. And also the lesson it teaches us. You see, Honorable Black went through the advantages of the aura, the conscientization of the citizens to get up and be involved. Very, very key. Conscientization of the citizens to get up and be involved. This thing that, hey, if I go and report, they will come after me and my family. It should be a thing of the past. People are sacrificing for this country. Let's stop, putting fear in ourselves. We inflict fear on ourselves when it shouldn't be, right? That's one of the main things. So it's even number one. This aura is number one on our list. The advantages that it has helped to deepen this in transparency and accountability. So we are learning how to, hold governments accountable. More people are willing to report, even if anonymously, etc.
But you see, Council, it's one thing receiving these complaints from people, and
really?
Can you hear me? Hello, Council.
Hello. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I was saying that it's one thing receiving these complaints from people, very well-meaning Ghanaians, and it's another thing actually going to court or through the legal process to be able to prove that indeed what they have told you or they submitted to you has some grounding in fact and is actually potent enough for the Attorney General to prosecute. That is another challenge on its own because, this, that, as a lawyer, you receive some evidence that looks very promising, damaging, but then again, you get into court and you have to adduce evidence to prove that indeed what you have received is prosecutable information. And that's a challenge that many have identified. Do you also see in that?
Yes, I agree. So that is the main challenge. People can report cases, but sometimes it is not how they see it. All right? Other times, you can't blame those people. This is not to say people shouldn't report. By all means, let's continue to report, because if we don't, it will get worse. So that's why they're saying good. See it, say it, sort it out. See it, say it, sort it out. Okay? Right. Yeah, that's a shorter form of if you see something, say something, that. So we have to continue. We have no option. Look, so let's say sometimes people can come and report cases, maybe 10, 20, and you may not get any prosecutable cases amongst them. You say, yes, but another one, and then you are lucky. So those are, if you ask the CID, people who do criminal investigations, etc., they will tell you it's something they've been living with, but they continue to work, right? So it's not the case that every case reported will necessarily result in a criminal conviction. But even the fact that citizens have come to report, have said something, it's a huge step forward. So that's why I said, see it, say it, sort it, right? It's good. Or if you like the Ghanaian version, if you see something, say something, right? It moves the democracy forward, because your democracy certainly doesn't make progress where your citizens see suspicious behavior, suspicious activities, and then they decide not to say anything. So let's continue. But we all lived in this country, and we saw so many things that went bad, and we were not happy. So at least out of this 2,400 and something, I'm sure at least maybe 10, 15 cases will bring out something. I'm being very, very conservative. We'll get something. And even before then, did you see some of the benefits we've already derived even from ORA? Remember that also as part of your questions, ORA was not doing full-blown investigations. No. Ours was to receive petitions, what people are complaining about,
right.
suspicious activities, suspicious transactions, etc. Then we'll record them, help shape them, and present to the Attorney General, who in turn will now redistribute the ones that the Attorney General himself will investigate and prosecute, the ones he will send to police, the ones he will send to Yoko, and then there are the ones he will send to OSP, right? Yes, so you are certainly going to get some of the cases leading to successful prosecution. Some too, even if it's not prosecution, will recover money, okay, or recover properties. So by all means, there will be some levels of success. But as to percentages, we cannot tell. But as we say, it's important to remember that we didn't have a mandate to do forensic investigations, do this, do that. No, that's not our mandate. Ours was to receive people's petitions and also information that's in the public domain. We should gather them and put them together. So let me show you one critical example. Let's say National Cathedral. You see how we all have said about the 58 million Akufo-Addo spent on it, he and his people. Now, we know that as part of gathering, you see, National Cathedral, you will gather the statements he made at the beginning that, it's going to be private sector-led. Government is not spending any money. Then from there, you saw that government gave land. So we'll gather that information, statements he made. Then from that, the next thing, they went to court. And then they told the court that, they've given only land. Then the Supreme Court itself said, yes, government can give land. Fortunately, it's only land. They've not added money. Then the next thing, they started adding money. Then we got to this $58 million. So we gather some of those things and put them together. So it makes the Attorney General work easier. Gather them, arrange them well. Then you make it easier for the Attorney General to build from there. That's what we did. We were not going into like National Cathedral. We didn't have jurisdiction or mandate to go and ask everybody, out of this 58 million, how much did they pay you? But we also know that out of this 58 million, about $30 million went to a jail alone. Or we like to say Ajayi, the architect, he alone. Meanwhile, people will tell you that even the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, at the point, the tallest building in the world, even the architect there, did they say he made less than $5 million, right? Etc. So you look at it and you're like, so even if in Dubai, where they have more money, the designer, the architect, made less than $5 million, how come in Ghana, a J alone or Ajayi can make $30 million, etc. So you put all these things together and then let the Attorney General go into it. And of course, we can expect that some Ghanaians who are already beginning to come forward, that they are willing to give information to show how the rot happened. So all of that is good. So we've chalked successes. We've saved a lot of bungalows. We've shown in the media page, the one we shared with the media, about 50 bungalows saved. Okay, CSR, their bungalows. You will see Ministry of Gender and Children Protection, we saved their bungalows. You see other people, NDA land, right, etc., etc. So ORA has been a success, and as I mentioned, that's a preparatory stage. It's been a huge success, and I keep applauding President Mahama for that foresight. I keep saying that decision to set up ORA is a master stroke, and then through the information and tips people give. Remember that it's not all the 2,413 that are full complaints. Some of them are tips. They will tell you, watch this organization. Hey, see, this particular state institution, something is going wrong. Go and investigate, etc. So it helps our democracy. It's a huge step forward, right? And I always say, by the way, today, finally, I met JM, the president, for the first time. In my life, I met him and shook hands. The man I've criticized. Of course, he's become president, so you have to, look back and say, okay, there are times we criticized him, but there were also times that eventually we saw that he's a better candidate than Baumia, so we have to support him. And today he's president, So by all means, let's go on. The investigation stage will bring its own successes, and the prosecution too. Then there will be recovery. The Attorney General mentioned it.
I see. But then again, the recoveries part, and that's going to be the next phase of this Operation Recover All Loot, promise. After you have done your work, and this 2,417 complaints and reports you received submitted to the Attorney General, as we saw today, in your view, what should be the process of prosecution after this? Should it be a commission of inquiry, as some have suggested, or the Attorney General should also prosecute the cases through the law courts, and the public being carried along every step of the way, so that if it's a commission of inquiry to be adopted, then it'll be publicized, everybody get to see the respondents and the persons who have been cited in the report appearing before the commission of inquiry, publicized to respond and give their side of the issues. Or even if it's going to be through the judiciary, it must also be publicized so that we get to see how cases are also heard in the court of law. What would be your suggestion?
Okay, so considering the fact that the cases are many and a lot went on, a lot of bad stuff went on, a good approach would be to blend the two. Some of them do commission of inquiry, others go straight to court. Yeah, it will help. It will help. So that, like you mentioned, the ones that will go to commission of inquiry, that will be telecast live, and so people will get to see what went wrong. You see things like the Ghana lands, not only Ghana lands. You see the Ghans have suffered a lot. Their lands are gone to people cheap, 40,000, 120,000, 160,000 Ghana cedis. Yet, if you want to buy, the same government will now say pay $500,000 for one plot, etc. So you can see that there's a lot of discrimination. So let's do a commission of inquiry, especially when it comes to the land. Let people see what's been going on. That state officials, especially politicians, flee the whole system. They take these lands in acres. While a lot of the Ghana people, especially the La people, have been left impoverished, and then their lands are going to people for peanuts, and these people turn around and sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So can you imagine how the whole of the last two will be happy to see the injustice that has been done to them over these decades being broadcast live? That in itself is accountability. So let's get this clear. Every time we say accountability, it's not always that you get final conviction. It's not always when somebody goes to jail that we say there's accountability. No. When you ask somebody to come and answer for his deeds, even the answer alone, even on TV, it's also a form of accountability. Let me give you a specific example. You remember how those days, DSP Azugu, the also West Wagon. So even before the final report came out, when Azugu came and spoke, we saw how, the whole nation, people were not impressed with some of the answers, and he became the butt of people's jokes. He became a laughing stock. So, you see, that was also a form of accountability. That matter, you didn't use the state power well. There was a lot of abuse, etc. So let's always remember that when we say accountability, it doesn't always mean that until you collect the thing from the person who has misappropriated it, or until you throw the person in jail, then you haven't done accountability. No, when the person comes to answer, and his answers are short, the answers are substandard, not satisfactory, etc., the naming and shaming he suffers is also accountability. So it's a broad thing. So by all means, it would make sense for some of the cases to be taken through commission of inquiry. Of course, we know it has its own dangers. That if you do commission of inquiry, then the evidence people come and give over there, you cannot use that same evidence to now turn around and prosecute them. If you want to prosecute them, then go and gather your own independent evidence. So for those cases, we'll be doing, that we support that there should be commission of inquiry. We know there's a huge risk, but it's for the government to look at and say, we'll take the risk. And then, of course, before they take the risk, they also know that, well, even if we don't get to finally prosecute them, if at the end of the commission of inquiry, we agree that certain lands should be returned, yes, then if the people are not happy, they can go on appeal. So that will go through the court system, right? So that in itself, like I keep repeating, it's accountability. Let's understand that the fact that somebody goes to court, we don't win, we don't get him in jail, doesn't mean that he's not being held accountable. By all means, the parts of his conduct that were not good will be brought to bear, and he too, then later he will be feeling ashamed. Yeah, some people don't like even their names to be mentioned next to wrongdoing. So when they suffer ridicule, when they suffer naming and shaming, it's also a form of accountability. So, yes, Commission of Inquiry can have its risk, but considering that the cases are many, it's good to use some through Commission of Inquiry, and then the rest will go to court.
Counsel, I do appreciate your time, and as always, thank you very much for talking to us. And I know that this conversation about the next phase of oral is just beginning, so in the coming days we'll talk some more. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner, is a member of the 5-member committee of the preparatory Operation Recover All Loot Oral Team. They presented their report to President John Dramani Mahama earlier today, and the chair of that committee, Samuel Okujato Ablakwa, Foreign Affairs Minister, revealed that the work of the committee prevented the demolition of 50 bungalows that were under threat. Listen to him.
Establishment of oral, we have been able to save 50 bungalows that were on the verge of being demolished. 50 bungalows. We received distress calls from public servants who said people had showed up, so-called private developers, to demolish their bungalows. And in the report, we have provided the detailed list of these bungalows, some belonging to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Gender, Social Protection, the CSIR, and all of that. But for the president establishing oral, we take the view that all of these 50 bungalows will have been demolished. So what we did is that when we received the complaints, the distress calls, we immediately called the National Security Committee. And we were very privileged because of the president's foresight. He strategically positioned COP Kofi Boakye in oral and also in the National Security Committee. So as soon as the reports come, he then relays the information to National Security Committee. So media, please get it clear. We are not saying that we, Team Oral, physically went to prevent demolition of bungalows. No, that was not part of our mandate. We were only to receive complaints. But as responsible, conscientious citizens, it will be irresponsible to receive the complaints and just allow those bungalows to be demolished. So immediately, National Security is informed, and then they act.
Oh, so that's Samuel Okujato Ablakwa. Adam said, I know, is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, is joining us via Zoom right now. Ms. Zano, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you as always. I just spoke to that's Martin Pebo is a member of this 5-member committee. They presented their report today. 2,417 complaints that they received, and out of that, from what we got, some 1,493 of it were direct phone calls. He says that the next phase will be the AG to then take it up and prosecute. But then the fundamental question is that the information they received, it must be prosecutable for the AG to be able to move with it, is it not?
Well, absolutely. I like to believe that those members of the committee have some skill. So as they sift through, they probably selected those that they felt were credible already. But the AGs will now have to do a second screening and probably some validation before they go to court, because there's no way you want to go to court and lose cases if you're not sure of it. So yes, the first step taken, but there's going to be a middle layer of scrutiny that must be applied before the AGs can go to court.
I see. Now, then beyond that, after the validation and all, there's been proposals for the AG to consider either a commission or inquiry, so that people who are cited in the report, like what we saw in the Ghana at 50 case, would be brought before the commission, televised, publicized, live. All of us follow, the public follow every step of the way, or the ones that will be prosecuted through the courts would also be publicized as well, so that the likes of you and I can follow as well? Is it one that you would support, and why?
I think that the AG, based on the historical records, what different approaches to things like this have achieved, we want to consider all the potential options. It's not an area of expertise of my own, so it'll be difficult to tell. I think that the more important thing is the cross-checking of the evidence to be sure that it is credible, it is prosecutable, and for those that they find that it's credible and prosecutable, they then decide which route, because I don't expect the AGs to attempt being the one that goes after everyone. I think that the various laws and the mandates, depending on the agency, the anti-corruption, anti-graft agency, whose mandate properly is seized with the specific issue, they ought to hand over to the specific agency so that they also follow up. So I see a multi-pronged approach at this. The AG is the one that is going to determine who gets what based on the laws that exist. And the AGs, together with these other bodies, will have to then take the actions to bring to book any persons, and the variety of strategies they will use will depend on a case-by-case approach and understanding of the facts.
And maybe finally, before I let you go as well, what in your view has this preparatory team of ORA really done in the fight against corruption in this country over the period that they have been operating?
I think that it has demonstrated that Ghanaians are willing to provide information on things happening if the institutions and the personalities involved in these institutions have the credibility that guarantees their personal safety and their anonymity. The information will come. And I think that it's a triumph and a victory for whistleblowing. And I think that we need to replicate this kind of model, looking at who we put in charge of these things. If they are credible people who are known to themselves, have handled information in a way that clearly protected the identities and the interests of those who provided the information, and not just held onto the information, but were determined to make sure that the information gets to the right quarters and the right people, the right results are obtained. I think that Ghanaians will have much more confidence in these systems, and will find that moving ahead, many more issues and facts come up. It will also serve as a deterrent, because to the extent that the information provided is credible, and we begin to see that the agencies go to court and are able to retrieve these sums of money, it will certainly turn the tide, in this fight. So I think that there's an opportunity here we can leverage to get better results for our country.
Son, I appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much.
And thank you too.
And Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Then this is what President John Mahama said upon the receipt of the report.
And good governance. The findings of this report make for sober reading. They reveal the scale of financial leakages that have cost our nation dearly. Resources that should have been invested in education, healthcare, infrastructure, and social development. But they also offer hope that through our collective efforts, we can reclaim what is ours and deter future acts of economic sabotage. As we receive this report, let me assure the Ghanaian people that the work does not end here. The recommendations of the report will be carefully studied, and where legal action and investigations are warranted, they will be pursued without fear or favor. Every peso recovered will be channeled back into national development, and mechanisms will be strengthened to prevent such losses in the future. I have promptly handed over the report to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and I give him firm instructions to commence immediate investigations into the cases reported in here with a view to prosecuting anyone found liable for corruption or related offenses.
As President John Dramani Mahama there.
We go to Parliament now because the 7-member ad hoc committee probing the appointment committee chaos has ended its work without the input of the minority. Work of the committee has faced challenges after the minority questioned the impartiality of its chair while demanding a reconstitution of the membership to allow for full participation. Well, at a meeting today, the chair of the committee, Emmanuel Bedra, read out a letter by the minority leader, Alexander Apanyo-Marking, officially informing the committee of members' decision to recuse themselves.
These proceedings respectfully submitted. On that note, I want to inform honorable members that the minority has decided not to be part of the committee's work until the Speaker gives a directives tomorrow. And so we'll continue with those who are here.
And you heard that Emmanuel Bedra, the chair of the ad hoc committee, set up to probe that chaos in Parliament on the 30th of January. That, however, did not stop proceedings as more and more witnesses from the minority side were called to provide testimony. And we'll be getting on the phone lines very shortly to speak to Mawina Egbeta, who is in Parliament for us. But first, let's hear from former Housing Minister Collins Dauda, who was one of those who appeared before the committee today. We can also hear the General Secretary of the governing National Democratic Congress, Fifi Kwete.
Let me just say this way, that our friends in the MPP need to appreciate that the way to revive your fortunes is not to try to reduce what you call the appointment committee into, should I call it, an arena for vendetta.
Vendetta?
Yeah.
Why so?
Because that truly is what is happening now. They believe that this is their opportunity to use the appointment committee to settle scores, especially with people that they perceive to have played key roles in making their, shall I call it, in making it difficult for them politically ahead of the election. I mean, this is not the first time. I mean, I typically went through that very same thing in 2009. When I was nominated as Deputy Finance Minister. MPP made it a point to ensure that I literally was made to pay for the sins I've committed, being the one who was in charge of the communication of the party into that election. So effectively, that is something the MPP unfortunately loves to do. Basically, when they lose an election, they get a lot of anger and they like to go after people they perceive to have been very strong in that election. So it tends not to be, shall I call it, an arena where you are looking at people's capacity to perform. Because it's a difference to say, let's say I'm nominated for a particular position. Your number one concern should be my capacity to perform that role. But no, it becomes much more of, okay, you said this against my candidate the last time. You said the other one against my vice candidate the last time. You said this one against this MP. So it becomes much more of a forum for vendetta. And that is not, I don't think it's going to work very well for them.
And I had the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kwete. Well, we know that the committee has concluded its work. So what's the way forward now?
We don't need the minority to be here for us to conduct business.
What happens to the witness statement of their members?
You've watched the video, haven't you?
We all have, but
yeah, so
that was also given enough.
The video is an evidence enough to tell us what has happened here.
Just briefly, you've wrapped up today. You say you're expecting word from the Speaker with regards to an extension. We know that the Speaker is around. Have you got a sense as to why your request for an extension, you've not got any response just as yet?
So by tomorrow, you will comment on it.
But are you ready with the report? Can you present your report in the next few days?
No, we will be meeting this afternoon to look at the report and see how best, whether it will be presented tomorrow or not. But we requested for additional 2 days. So I'm hopeful that Speaker will give us the 2 days.
You've had a lot of sittings, but without the minority. About to present a report that has significant ramifications for the party.
We'll present a report, whether minority or no minority, we'll present a report. Members of Parliament were here. You've watched the videos, and you can attest to the fact that the videos are evident enough to tell us those who were involved. We're not to witch hunt anybody, we're to just identify those who were involved. And so we don't need anybody to even tell us. We don't even need public hearing in any case, but just for the world to know that, yes, indeed, we had this meeting, that's why.
You're going to continue with the hearing, you are not in public.
There will not be any hearing again. We are done. We just write our report.
We know we're expecting the clerk to be.
I just mentioned that he wasn't here, and so I mentioned those who were not around, and then that will be factored in our report.
Why the clerk?
I've already mentioned that there was no indication from the clerk, and those that I had indication from, I read a letter from the minorities are why they were not here. So.
And you just watched that interaction going on after the committee finished its work today. We're joined by Dr. Samuel Efiye. He's a political analyst. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, good evening, Beatrice, and greetings to your listeners.
I mean, this committee's work was publicized, as it were, had been on TV since day one until they concluded its work today, of course, without the participation of the minority. But let me first ask you your assessment of how things transpired over the last few days.
Yes, what we have been seeing on TV, or what we have seen on TV, it's quite so interesting to have different views of what happened. Even today, I was just watching one of them, and it just gives an indication of how the endemic of seriousness of issues that confront Parliament in terms of differences. And that is one thing that we need to look at from the viewpoint of the other caucus in the minority, that is the appointment committee. It just gives an indication of how these issues how things happened. And it's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate that this is coming out. But what we've seen is that the other side of it is where it brings a gap, or it ends up with a gap in the report that will be generated or presented to the Speaker. And that is quite unfortunate that it will happen that way. Even though the report will be presented, but the other side could have helped a lot, because that is where the issues are more, so that we can also listen to their views or what questions. And I think the members of the committee, they have done well as in terms of the kind of questions that they ask, and that is also critical in this report that will be presented to the Speaker. But it's quite unfortunate that the minority caucus withdraw from the committee. But at the end of the day, I believe that we could get a gist of what happened, and the Speaker might use it to come out with certain kind of actions that will help Parliament in general. It's something that needs to be looked at, because Parliament is now being seen as a chaotic environment, and things need to be looked at, especially when you look at the questions and some witnesses that came to the committee. You can even realize that there were a lot of influx of people that are not parliamentarians, that are even get the opportunity to be in these committees and also in Parliament. And that is also a threat to MPs as well, because today the one witness was not an MP, but they came in to take active part in the chaos. And that is something that we believe that, so it will help a lot. It will help a lot, Beatrice, and I believe that we all have to help Parliament to ensure that these image of being a chaotic environment is being out of Parliament.
So let's talk about what transpired before the committee concluded its work today. Prior to that conclusion, we had the minority, accusing the chair of bias and all of that until today. They eventually didn't even show up. So the committee had to continue without or conclude its work without the minority side. Do you think that from hindsight, perhaps something could have been done about it ahead of today?
Well, I don't know. Maybe behind closed doors, some conversation has been done, but they were not able to be convinced of that for them to be part of the committee. I don't know, because I believe that some of these things, it's in politics. These are strategies, just to have a way. Because if you can read through the lines, and you might be a victim, or you might be one of the others, the side that where most of the blame will be given to you, then you tend to play some kind of political, should I say, gymnastics to ensure that your side might not be given the hard rules or judgment on the other side. So I think that in one or the other, it's a political strategy. That is what the minority might be adopting to at least to invade some kind of a lot of blame on them. Another side of it is that maybe they have been more convincing or closed door conversations or contact for them to come, but still they hold on to their decision. And it's a caucus decision, at the same time it's a party decision. What I've realized, what we learned was that they were not consulted before the committee was established, was set up. At the same time, and the members of the committee is the speaker that selected them without the caucus input. So they also have their reasons why. But I think that one thing that the speaker needs to look at is that, I've been saying that the majority side, the numbers, they should not be deceived by the numbers, so that they tend to use their numbers to overshadow or bully them. Because the minority, they have nothing to lose, and they can frustrate you. And this report, no matter how the situation, no matter what will happen, at the end of the day, because of not them being part, you may have another certain gap somewhere which could have made the report so complete and so real for all of us to take action on that. But in whatever being the case, I believe that we can, based on the recommendation from that, to make a good decision for our Parliament. So, Beatrice, is quite unfortunate, but I believe that there should be some kind of consensus. Some of these things, if you want to get them on board, you have to contact them, you have to engage them before some of these things, these committees are being set up in Parliament. If not, they will make your work difficult, they will frustrate you, they will just make you uncomfortable, and sometimes they can create a situation that will be seen as you the only speaker or majority side that is taking everything. But in Parliament, I believe that in parliamentary democracy, no matter how the numbers, no matter how whoever constitutes the minority, even if they are 5, you need their kind of input in certain kinds of report or even committees. So it's a kind of a way that the speaker and the majority side should adopt to encourage them to be on board. If not, they will always make your work difficult in this kind of a situation.
Beyond what you've said, like I said, committee has finished with its work, bearing in mind that the minority has not necessarily been part of it. And for the sake of unity and cohesion in the House, how would you expect both sides of the House to ensure that whatever it is that is presented, it is looked at apolitically for the interests of the House and the country at large?
Beatrice, I think for now it's too late, because they are presenting they ended their committee, their meeting today. So I don't know when and Speaker will allow them to also come in for their input or whatever. It's unfortunate that it and because even if they extend it, those witnesses that came and those people that came, what about the minority caucus questions that they could have, those that were representing the minority, the kind of questions. So it's quite unfortunate that it has ended, and I think that there will be no any other opportunity that the Speaker might give it to them. Maybe on the floor of Parliament when they are discussing is when they can bring some of these issues out. But because when you look at the chaotic situation, we would say that there's a minority that led that kind of conflict, that kind of fighting or chaotic. They were the, should I say, the leaders, or they are the ones that brought those things. So if you don't have their input, definitely you realize that the report will not be so much what we expected for the Speaker to make a decisive decision. But no matter what, all the information of what we have watched so far give an indication that there's a lot of things that need to be done. And the Speaker should engage the minority again. Maybe they can ask them to also bring their report, or maybe they can just write something on their side. That can also be possible. Maybe we have given you a day or two. Speaker can just inform the minority that before they accept the report, they can also bring their written document or whatever to attach, or maybe there may be another. But that one needs to be kind of conversation behind the closed doors. If it is possible, then that can be done. If not, I'm sorry, Beatrice, that the report might be presented without the minority caucus, and that is an unfortunate situation for Parliament, for this chaotic, for us to end this kind of environment where Parliament seems to be fighting all the time.
To end it here, thank you very much for speaking to us, Dr. Samuel Efriye. He's a political analyst. Let's bring you some other issues. And 17 new cases of cholera have been recorded in the Efutu municipality of the Central Region, while the death toll remains at 2. The surge in cases is straining the municipal hospital and its staff. Correspondent Akwasi has more in the following. So we'll be bringing you that report. But first, let's hear the Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Agnes Achiama, who told TV3 earlier that most of the patients were showing mild symptoms.
Currently, we are having a lot of cases. I should say that for a fact. And I would say that because the sensitization is going on, well, people are getting to know that they have to report. So now they are coming in, and that is a good sign for us, because when they come early, that is when we'll be able to save them. Yes, so now people are getting to know about it, and they are reporting early. Comparing the data for about 3 days now, today as we speak, we have about 17 on that who have reported today, but the majority of them are mild cases, and that is a good sign for us. We've done some activities.
Well, Head of Medical Staff Dr. Douglas Amponsa told TV3 News that the outbreak is placing a strain on staff also.
In fact, it has been very hectic. Over the weekend, we're all on the ground, Friday till now. In fact, we leave here very late, and then in the night we still have to pass by to see situations are on the ground. Currently, we're managing with, just 3 doctors, but then the region has brought us another one this morning, who is come to assist us from Kaswa, who is come to assist us at the ward. It hasn't been easy. Now, cholera is a national disaster, so the resources, we the hospital, we've done our part. Our stakeholders are also doing their part. Region have done their part. National is also doing their part. So we are still asking for donations, because cholera, we need beds, mattresses, the IV fluids, the antibiotics, trolleys, and then they keep coming. But as the cases are going up, they come, and then we use them to care for the patients.
And you had the head of medical staff, Dr. Douglas Amponsa. She's the medical staff at the Efutu Municipal Hospital. Now, the outbreak since October last year and the death of 2 persons is causing a scare among some residents of Winneba, especially Joma, where Koku, one of the deceased patients, lived with his mom. And we'll bring you more later.
Also live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome. And some news just coming through from the Ghana National Fire Service right now. There is a fire outbreak happening now. A warehouse in the Tema industrial area. That's information we're getting right now. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, we'll show you live videos of this fire outbreak with some 5 fire tenders. They're currently at the massive fire outbreak involving a warehouse at Tema industrial area, and we understand that the fire outbreak has led to the destruction of some for thousands of cities worth of items in the warehouse in the Tema industrial area. So if you go on our Facebook page right now, this is breaking news coming through right now here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. A fire outbreak at the Tema industrial area that's affected some warehouses in there and destroyed some of the products in the warehouse, running into thousands of Ghana cities. That's information coming through from the Ghana National Fire Service right now. This is one that we're keeping an eye on, but if you go on our Facebook page right now at 3FM927, we're showing you live videos of this fire outbreak with some 5 fire tenders belonging to the Ghana National Fire Service attempting to fight the fire and to bring it under control as well. So that is the news coming through right now. So stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break. Michael Obodo is standing by with the latest in the world of business.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start is sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
And hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, International Monetary Fund team engages government to assess plans on revenue mobilization and potential tax cuts ahead of the 2025 budget. I am Michael Obodo. Details coming up shortly. Please stay. Thank you so much for your time. Now, straight into our top story, and an International Monetary Fund IMF team is in Ghana for discussions with the government on the economy and the 2025 budget. The 5-day engagement will assess progress on debt negotiations and the energy sector, as well as clarify government's plans on revenue mobilization and potential tax cut. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
An International Monetary Fund IMF team has arrived in Ghana to begin discussions with the government on the economy and the upcoming 2025 budget. The 5-day engagement will focus on revenue mobilization, debt restructuring, and plans for the energy sector, including proposals to privatize aspects of the electricity company of Ghana's operations. The team is also expected to review the government's progress in negotiations with external commercial creditors and measures to address energy sector debts. Additionally, sources indicate that the IMF will seek clarity on how the government intends to offset revenue losses if planned tax cuts, including the removal of the betting tax, COVID-19 levy, and e-levy, take effect. Estimates suggest these removals could cost Ghana about 10 billion cedis annually. This visit is not an official review mission, but will help shape discussions ahead of the IMF's 4th program review later this year, which will assess Ghana's fiscal performance for 2024.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Ghana has been ranked 8th in Africa for internet quality in the 2024 Surfshark Digital Quality of Life Index, scoring 0.304. The report highlights ongoing digital challenges across the continent, including slow speeds and high data costs, which continue to limit access to essential online services. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
Ghana has placed 8th in Africa for internet quality, according to the 2024 Surfshark Digital Quality of Life Index. The country secured an index score of 0.304, ranking behind Mauritius, which topped the list with 0.361, followed by Ivory Coast, Egypt, and Algeria. South Africa, Senegal, and Burkina Faso placed 5th, 6th, and 7th, with Morocco and Nigeria rounding off the top 10. The index evaluates internet affordability, quality, e-infrastructure, e-security, and e-government across 121 countries. Despite Ghana's ranking, the report highlights persistent challenges such as slow speeds, high data costs, and inconsistent coverage, limiting access to key digital services like e-commerce and telemedicine. Globally, European nations dominated the rankings, with African countries lagging as the highest ranked nation on the continent placed only 66th.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, finally, senior partner at ABN David of Osudote, has emphasized the importance of securing a strategic agreement with President Donald Trump to safeguard Ghana's interest amid his administration's increasingly pro-America policies. Mr. Osudote noted that Trump's policy direction since taking office signals a shift that could impact global trade dynamics, making it crucial for Ghana to proactively engage with the U.S.
I think Trump is giving us a second opportunity. We missed the first opportunity. The man doesn't care so much about Africa. He didn't invite Africa to even his inauguration. So where you have a situation where the person doesn't care, it is a chance for our leaders to realize that a day will come when somebody wouldn't care. I think Africa has another opportunity with Trump. There are 2 things we can do, and Ghana should be one of them. One is to realize the things we need to do for ourselves. 2, more important, I see Trump as a deal maker. I think Ghana can put 2 or 3 African countries together on things that come to our advantage. He will be happy to make a deal. But we can't do that without doing it with other African nations. I can't go into the detail, but there are just significant strategies that this government can do if they take the deal approach, and it will change the dynamics of this.
And you hear the voice of senior partner at ABN David of Osudote, bringing an end to the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please visit our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next, sports.
In a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
It's time for sports here on 3FM's Hot Edition. My name is Mutala Yakubu. Now, Asante Kotoko and Ahatifolk have jointly submitted a proposal to the Ghana Football Association demanding key reforms before the Ghana Premier League resumes. Among their key recommendations are an increase in police presence at match venues, the transition to an autonomous league, and fair distribution of TV rights revenue. My colleague Bill Shen has more on that.
Of course, in the last few days, we have waited for that joint petition from Asante Kotoko and Ahatifolk, and finally they've done it. And looking at the main things they've highlighted, I think it's a pretty strong one. From the deployment of at least 100 police personnel to the fact that they want the league to be autonomous now. They want the club licensing department to define new minimum standards as well. I think these main pointers are what we need for the league to thrive. And I think it's really strong from Asante Kotoko and Ahatifolk with what they've done. As to whether the GFA will be able to execute all of these is something that we would have to wait and see. But of course, lots of people have been they need to be autonomous for a while. And so that was a very good point that they highlighted. And the fact that they also would want a bit more share when it comes to the television deals. I think it's only natural that the two biggest clubs in the country would want a bigger share when it comes to those TV rights and then the money that comes along with it. So I think it's a good step by two clubs fighting for the same cause.
Bill Shen is my colleague at 3 Sports. Now, following the violent incident in Nswatraman, Asante Kotoko quickly responded by issuing a statement suspending all football-related activities. Now, despite last week's meeting at the GFA Secretariat, the club appears steadfast in its stance. Newly appointed head of public relations, Asafu Duku, has reiterated that Kotoko's decision to pause football activities remains unchanged.
Yes, I have to be very honest with you. So far, we are impressed with the swift manner with which the Ghana Police Service has reacted or responded to this matter. You recall that the IGP himself visited us in Kumasi here. Then he also invited us to Accra. And I don't think they have relaxed at all. So I would say that, without mentioning whether they have been swift, and they've attached so much importance to this matter. And I hope it goes on like that. No, they've just started. Let us wait and see where things will get to. For now, it's too early for me to say that we have rescinded our decision. We are saying that we want to see that the police is actually getting into somewhere, which I hope they will get there. At least, so far, 6 arrests also have been made. And it's refreshing. But let us wait and see where things will get to. Then, I don't think that Kotoko is saying that we will not play football again. No, that is not what we are saying. We are saying that we kept on complaining that things were not in good shape. Unfortunately, we didn't get the appropriate response. And we believe that we have lost a soul. This will compel all the stakeholders to realize that things are not going on well. So that at the end of the day, we want to see major reforms in the game. Because nobody would want to go to a match venue and then you wouldn't know whether to come back or not. I don't think any of us is prepared to go until we see that proper measures, effective measures have been put in place to ensure that such a barbaric act will not reoccur in any of our league centers.
Safuduku is the head of public relations at Asante Kotoko. Now, since the Inswater incident happened, many Kotoko fans have expressed their frustration and disappointment. Their concerns escalated to the point of holding a meeting where they issued a strong demand to the GFA and the Ghana police, calling for the perpetrators to be brought to justice or risk Kotoko withdrawing from all FA organized competitions. Their fans turned out in large numbers for a vigil honoring their slain colleague. Now, during the event, MP for Pro East, Emmanuel Kwakubuam, revealed that a sports committee will be set up in Parliament and they will take the issue up.
In fact, what we are going to make sure to do is the sports committees within the various parliamentary committees that we have will be set up within the week. And I believe that the sports committee will take this thing up. And we are going to throw our support behind it. Whatever legislation, whatever debate, whatever things that has to be done, we are going to do it. And you can see today I've spent my time here, not because I feel we like what has happened, but it's because to show our support that every life matters, and there isn't any situation that somebody should lose a life because we have gone to watch football. And that is what we are going to do as parliamentarians. Exactly that. Thank you.
Kokubom is MP for Prum East in the Bono region. Now let's cross borders because Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has hailed Real Madrid's attacking trio, calling them nearly impossible to contain. With Kylian Mbappe, Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. leading Real Madrid's front line, they will pose a major threat when they face Manchester City in the UEFA Champions League knockout stage. Guardiola admitted his team will do everything possible to counter the attacking prowess.
But it's impossible in 90 minutes, 180 minutes or 200 minutes, depends extra time to control these four players. They are, everybody knows, so I don't say anything new. They are exceptionals, so how they combine, how the runners, the ability in 1 against 1, how they keep the ball, so all four they are exceptional, so everybody knows it, so we have to reduce his involvement as much as possible, you know, and knowing that is going to happen, accept it. So I'm not expecting, because they have the courage to play. They have, of course, when they decide to play long balls, they are good. But after they have the ability, it doesn't matter what happens. To always be present with the ball. It doesn't matter the opponents are close. They have the ability to keep it and make an extra touches and extra passes. And when they happen, of course, they can run. They can combine the shortest passes with the movements in behind. So we know it's going to happen, but in the same time, we are going to try to impose our game, to be involved less as possible with the ball and be smart, and especially in the first leg, the way you have to play. It's important to read what the tempo basically we have to play to get a good result.
Pep Guardiola is Manchester City manager, and tomorrow they will take on Real Madrid at the Etihad in the knockout phase of the UEFA Champions League. Now wrapping up in Spain, Barcelona manager Hansi Flick has praised his team's performance after their 4-1 win over Sevilla in the Spanish La Liga. Currently third on the La Liga table and trailing leaders Real Madrid by 2 points after 23 matches, Hansi Flick remains optimistic about their title chances.
It's always like that we change little things. It's only little things, and the team adapted also today very good, and of course Fermin's goal to third one was very important for us. Give us the confidence, give us the belief in what we want to do, and of course Rafa's third one was also very important for us. Now it's good that the situation is better than before, but at the end we only look on ourselves. It's the way how we want to do it. We have to win our matches, so it's very important, and we don't look too.
So that is Hansi Flick there, the manager of Barcelona. And that brings us to the sports segment here on 3FM's Hot Edition. My name is Mutala Yakubu. Beatrice Edu has more after this.
Thank you so much, Michael Ogbodu, for bringing us the latest in business, as well as Mutalaya Kubu with the latest in sport. We go up north because dozens of people have been injured when gunmen ambushed a commercial bus in Binduri near Boko in the Upper East region. The bus moving from Boko to Bolga was under military escort when the gunmen attacked on the highway near Bazwa. Castro Sanyala is our correspondent in that region. He joins us live on the line with some more. Castro, we know that the attack happened this morning, but what more information have you gathered on it?
Well, Beatrice, the latest concerning that attack is that one person has succumbed to his injuries. You know, when the attack happened, 7 people were said by police sources to have been injured, and so they were transported to the Presbyterian Hospital, where we understand they were receiving treatment. But the latest information now is that one of them has died, and he has been released to authorities to undertake some autopsy investigation, while the other 6 are still in the hospital being treated. Beatrice, we understand that an attack the day first today, which led to the death of a woman and her 2 children, may have triggered this highway attack. Boko has enjoyed some relative peace in the past 2 weeks, but that attack on the woman and her children is what has caused this current attack that we are reporting on right now. And we understand that the military and the police are everywhere in the town, and in fact on the highways, especially where the attack happened earlier this morning.
Castro, just help us to understand how many people were injured in it, and if you could go back again to why you think this attack was launched on that bus.
Yes, Beatrice, from police sources, we understand that 7 people were injured. Unfortunately, later on in the day, one of the injured persons, succumbed to his injury, his gunshot wounds. And so as we speak now, 6 people are left injured and are currently at the Presbyterian Hospital in Boko receiving treatment. The body of the one who died, we understand, has been released for an autopsy investigation and subsequently, being handed to the family for burial. And what I've also gathered is that Sunday dawn's attack on a family leading to the death of a woman and her 2 children, after we understand gunmen went in search of the head of the family, who happens to be the husband of the deceased. We gathered that, even in fact from security agencies, saying that this latest attack on the highway in Bazwa could be linked to that attack, because the first one involving the woman and her children was from one side of the feuding factions, and so it appears that the other side, which wasn't happy about the development, is counterattacking for the loss being killed. And so for that matter, the police and the security agencies have strengthened their whole of the municipality, and in fact the highways between Bolga and Boko. And I understand right now that there have been some reprisal attacks also in Walwale, at Wulugunia Walwale, where we understand the military and that of the police are also currently responding to that attack there, which is a reprisal attack from what happened earlier today in Boko Enclave.
What more can you tell us about the current situation in Bazwa? Would you say that calm has been restored?
Yes, Beatrice, calm has been restored. I just got off phone with my sources in the military who tell me that a dozen more officers have been sent there, and they continue to patrol from now until they are sure that the highway is safe. I also understand that the military hierarchy is beginning to get concerned about how military vehicles with personnel in it are being attacked. And so they are sitting together to begin to look at how they can make sure that some of these things stop. Because if the military is escorting a vehicle and civilians hide behind trees and other things to fire the military, it's of great concern, and the military is not taking that for a joke. And so in the coming days, we may be seeing the General Officer Commanding, that's Brigadier General Frank Ter, visiting Boko to assess the situation and see what they can do to ensure that some of these attacks, especially on military convoys, providing security for civilians, comes to a stop.
Thank you very much, Castro Senyala, reporting live from the Upper East region. Now, the National Democratic Congress says there's a need for the Electoral Commission to begin conversation for a possible rerun of the elections at some polling stations in Ablekuma North, where there are disagreements. Listen to an interview the General Secretary Fifi Kwete had with TV3 this morning.
The responsibility of the Electoral Commission and also of the key political parties to ensure that the real will of the people is reflected. That's all we care about. At the end of the day, whether it goes for the NDC or goes to an NPP should be secondary. What matters is that the real will of the people. So, in terms of the Ablekuma area, Ablekuma North constituency, it is critical to reiterate that if the Electoral Commission is unable to find the documentation that will allow the Commission to make a declaration that reflects the true will of the people, then there's a need for a conversation to ensuring that can we allow therefore a process that will allow the people to express their will again, because that's really absolutely
meaning what there should be
sacrosanct. The important thing is to remember that the aim is to ensure that the will of the people is made manifest.
And you heard that the General Secretary of the governing NDC, Fifi Kwete, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has inaugurated 2 committees to oversee the rollout of a 24-hour passport application and welfare of Ghanaians living abroad. Listen to him today when he first got to his office after his swearing in on Friday.
We need to go full digitalization. We need to make it possible for courier services to submit passports to people. We shouldn't have a situation where thousands of passports remain uncollected. Cut down the inconvenience. If government has your biometrics, why is everybody still collecting biometrics? DVL, SNIT, NIA, health service, passport office, everybody is still collecting biometrics every day. Happens only in Ghana. It has to stop. We must integrate. And that is why I've spoken to the Communications Minister to help us with technical staff from his ministry and the NIA so that we can integrate. If your biometrics are in the system, why should you have to always, if you want to renew your passport or get a passport, do your biometrics again? It's total waste of man hours. And then we also want the passport office to become a 24-hour passport office that operates around the clock. And we'll be piloting that as we look at moving all our missions to 24-hour working period. That, as you know, is the vision of President Mahama. He's big on having a 24-hour economy so that we can work around the clock and then create jobs. Potentially, we can triple current staff numbers if we roll out a 24-hour operation within the ministry. So that is one of the committees that we'll be setting up today. The second committee we shall set up is the Migration and Welfare of Ghanaians in the Diaspora Committee. You heard me say that the Foreign Ministry should help to address the unemployment crisis. But even more importantly, we have too many of our compatriots who are being exploited. Their dignity is violated violently, particularly in some regions I don't want to mention because the media is here, but you know those regions. And it's all because it's not a regulated space.
And you heard the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. For Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good evening.